It is almost guaranteed that you will get a question like this on every test. You're presented with the sequence of numbers, and you need to determine the next number in the sequence. In this case, the numbers are 2, 10, 30, 68, 130, and the next number is missing. Can you determine what comes next in the sequence? You're presented with 4 different choices. Choice A, 216, choice B, 218, choice C, 220, and choice D, 222. Now might be a good time to pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer. Give yourself 20 to 30 seconds. That's about as much time as you get in the real test. Ready or not, I'm moving forward so we can get to the correct solution together. When dealing with sequence questions, my recommendation to you is always look for patterns. And to determine the answer in this case, we need to use the pattern n cube plus n. So it starts with the first number, which is equal to, and it was calculated as 1 cube plus 1 equals 2. Next number was calculated as 2 cube plus 2 equals 10. The following number was calculated as 3 cube plus 3 equals 30. Then 4 cube plus 4 equals 68. 5 cube plus 5 equals 130, which means that the missing number should be calculated as 6 cube plus 6, and the result would be equal 222. So the correct answer here is choice D, 222. Hopefully you've nailed this question on your own and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here's a cool question which tests your knowledge of percentages. You're presented with the chart which shows average cryptocurrency price. And question tells you that the chart shows the average price of cryptocurrency for each month from January to May. And the question is, what is the highest approximate percentage price increase between 2 consecutive months? You're presented with 4 different choices. Choice A, 60%, choice B, 70%, choice C, 80%, and then choice D, 90%. Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds, maybe 20 to 30 seconds, depending how well you are with calculations. Did you figure it out? Let's go ahead and get to the correct solution together. This challenge, we need to analyze the chart first. And there are only 2 consecutive months with the price increases. Price goes up from January to February, and then from February to March. And price goes down from March to April, and price goes down from April to May as well. So let's look at 2 months with price increases closely. Between January and February, price went up from $10 to $15. So the difference is 15 minus 10 equals 5. Between February and March, price went up from $15 to $27. So the price increase is calculated by subtracting 15 from 27, and the result is 12. Let's calculate the percentage increase. Between January and February, price increased by 50%. This is calculated by dividing 5 by 10 and multiplying by 100%. The end result of this is 50%. Between February and March, price increased by 80%. And this is calculated by dividing 12 to 15 and multiplying by 100%. The end result of this calculation is 80%. So the correct choice here is choice C, 80%. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here is an interesting question which validates how well you do planning of your day-to-day work. Mary spends 1/3 of her 24-hour day at work. Meetings take 1/4 of her workday. How many hours does she spend in meetings? You have 4 different choices. Choice A, 1 hour and 30 minutes. Choice B, 2 hours. Choice C, 2 hours and 30 minutes. And choice D, 3 hours. Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds, maybe a bit longer. depending how well you typically solve these types of problems. Ready or not, let's go ahead and solve this challenge together. As you might be well aware, full day has 24 hours. Mary's working hours are very typical. They represent 1/3 of the full day, which is 8 hours, and we calculate it by multiplying 24 by 1/3, or actually dividing 24 by 3. Meetings take 1/4 of her workday. So to calculate how much time she spends in meetings, we need to multiply 8 hours by 1/4, and the result is 2 hours. So the correct answer is choice B, 2 hours. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems in the test. Here's the cool problem, which is easy to understand, but might be a little tricky to solve. The box has 15 marbles of green, yellow, and orange colors. There are 7 times more of green marbles than yellow. How many orange marbles does the box have? You have 4 different choices. Choice A, 5. Choice B, 7. Choice C, 8. And choice D, 9. Can you calculate the answer? Or guess it? Or find out? Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds to see if you can come up with the solution. Let's continue to see how we can get to the correct solution together. Interesting problem, don't you think? To solve this type of problems, let's separate facts from the formulas. We have 2 facts. We have 15 total marbles, and marbles are of 3 different colors: green, yellow, and orange. And the formula that we are presented with is that there are 7 times more of yellow marbles than the green marbles. How does it help us? With this type of information, we can easily build the calculations, and we will base our calculation based off of yellow marbles. The calculations will be yellow marbles plus 7 multiplied by yellow marble plus orange marbles equals 15. Because 15 is a relatively small number, we can start guessing how many yellow marbles are in there. Our ability to solve this challenge is based off of the fact that there is a very small number of total marbles. If we can optimize this formula and simplify it, we can come up with the formula that 8 yellow marbles plus however many orange marbles equals 15. So the question is, how many yellow marbles can there be in total? Can there be 2 yellow marbles? No, because if we will multiply 8 by 2, we will get to the total of 16 marbles, which is greater than the 15, which is the current total number of marbles. Based on this information, the box cannot have more than 1 yellow marble. And if there is only 1 yellow marble, there is going to be 7 green marbles, because we already have a formula that number of green marbles is calculated by multiplying 7 to the number of yellow marbles. So the only thing that's left is calculating how many orange marbles are out there. And we can easily calculate it by using the formula 8 plus x equals 15. So the x is calculated by subtracting 8 from 15. The x equals 7. The correct answer here then is choice B, 7. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here's the cool question, variations of which we frequently see on the test. Young couple drove 1,200 miles in 3 days during their honeymoon. They drove 3 times more on the first day than on the last day, and the same mileage on the second day as on the first and third days combined. How many miles did they drive each day? You have 4 different choices. For the first, second, and third day, you have choices of A, 600, 400, and 200. Choice B, 550, 450, and 250. For choice C, you have 450, 600, and 150. And for choice D, you have 450, 700, and 150. Can you calculate the answer? Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds. You can use a piece of paper or you can do mental math. Now let's continue to see how we can get to the correct solution together. 1,200 miles together with your loving partner. What could be the better time to spend? Anyway, let's first look at the facts. There are two facts that I'd like to point out. Fact number one in this problem is that on the third day, they drove 1/3 of the first day miles. They probably got tired, right? And the second fact is on the second day, they drove first day miles plus third day miles combined. So what's interesting here, can we base our calculations based off of the last day mileage? And what I mean by that is that can we use the third day miles as x in the expression we're trying to build? Based on this information, on the first day, they drove 3x miles. On the second day, they drove 3x plus x miles. In total, they drove 1,200 miles. So now we can build an expression 3x in parentheses 3x plus x, and then plus additional x equals 1,200 miles. Let's do the calculation for x, which also represents the third day. X equals 1,200 divided by 8, which is 150 miles. And this is how many miles they drove on the third day. On the first day then, they drove 3 multiplied by 150, which is an equivalent of 450 miles. And on the second day, they drove 450 plus 150 equals 600 miles. So the correct choice here is choice C. On the first day, 450 miles, second day, 600 miles, and on the third day, 150 miles. The cool thing is that you didn't just get ready for the test, but in case you have honeymoon coming up and are interested in 3-day driving trip and have couple good locations in mind, you know how you would calculate the miles for your planned trip. Here's an interesting question you may need to know not just for the test, but also if you're trying to rent the house. 5 college students together rented a house. One of them decided to move out earlier, and now their rent would be $260 higher for each remaining tenant. What is the cost of the total rent, considering the rent is shared equally among students? And you're presented with 4 different choices. Choice A, $5,200. Choice B, $3,120. Choice C, $2,600. And choice D, $2,340. Give yourself 20 to 30 seconds. Maybe pause this video to see if you can come up with the answer on your own. Let's go ahead and solve this challenge together. One of the easiest ways to solve this challenge is to create a formula. Let's start by defining a variable, and we will define this variable as S, which would represent an initial split rent for 5 students. So, using this formula, we can calculate the total house rent as 5 multiplied by S, which means that after one student left, the total house rent could also be calculated as 4 multiplied and then the value in parentheses S plus $260. Using both approaches, we can create an expression. 5 multiplied by S equals 4 multiplied and then the value in parentheses S plus $260. Once we simplify it, we'll get to the equation 5S minus 4S equals $1,040, which means that the S equals $1,040, which represents initial one student rent. To calculate total house rent, we need to multiply 5 by $1,040, and the result will be $5,200. So the answer is choice A, $5,200. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. And now it's your turn. I would like you to practice and try to answer this question on your own. Please analyze the question and post your answer as well as your rationale of how you did the calculations in the comment section of this video. You're presented with 2 squares. Smaller square is inside the larger square. Both squares have numbers in the corners. The larger square has numbers 15, 11, 32, and 23. The smaller square has numbers 22, 13, 5, and one number is missing. And this is the number you need to calculate. You have 4 different choices. Choice A, 1, choice B, 7, choice C, 12, and choice D, 17. Do you see the pattern? Can you calculate the correct number? Please post your answer in the comment section of this video so I can give you my feedback. Thank you for participating and good luck! There is a very high chance that you will see this type of question on the test. You're presented with 3 by 3 matrix. This matrix contains different shapes inside. In our case, the matrix contains triangles, pentagons, and cubes. You have 2 spaces that are missing the shape, and you need to select from 4 possible choices. Choices A, B, C, and D. Do you see the solution? Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds. Maybe give yourself 20 to 30 seconds. Most likely, you will not get any more time on the real test. Ready or not, let's continue and get to the correct solution together. To solve these types of challenges, my advice to you is always look for patterns. And there are multiple patterns present here in this particular challenge. If you will detect and will use at least one of the patterns, you will be able to find solution to this challenge. The first pattern is that the shapes lines are in order 3, 6, and 9 lines. Let me clarify. Triangle has 3 lines, pentagon has 5 lines, and cube has 9 lines. Second pattern is that the small circle inside the shape alternatively rotates from being inside the shape to being outside of the shape. And then the last but not the least pattern is that the black circle outside of the shape also changes its location. So if you follow the pattern and look closely at the possible choices, you will calculate that the correct answer to this challenge is choice C. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here's a cool question which you frequently see on the test. You're presented with 2 cubes. One cube has side length equal 1 unit, and second cube is a larger cube and it has side length equals 3 units. So the question is, how many small cubes can fit into the large cube? And you have 4 different choices. Choice A, 9, choice B, 18, choice C, 27, and choice D, 81. Do you know the answer? Give yourself a few moments to calculate it. Maybe 20 to 30 seconds. This is about as much time as you get in the real test. Ready or not? Let's go ahead and get to the correct solution together. To solve this challenge, you need to visually imagine how many small cubes can fit into one side of the larger cube. And the answer is that 3 small cubes can fit on each side of the large cube. And since cube is 3-dimensional, the number of small cubes that can fit into the large cube can be calculated using the formula 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3, which is equal 3 cube. That's where the word cube might be coming from, which equals 27. Since cube is 3-dimensional, the number of small cubes that can fit into the large cube can be calculated using the formula 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 equals 3 cube equals 27. So the correct choice here is choice C, 27. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here's one of my favorite questions because it's easy to understand but might be challenging to solve. You need to calculate question mark and you're presented with the expression. You need to calculate question mark and on the other side of the expression you have 16 divided by 4 and multiplied on the value in parentheses 3 minus 1. You have 4 different choices to choose from. Choice A, 8. Choice B, 2. Choice C, 4. And choice D, 1. Do you think you can calculate the answer? Think again. Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds, maybe 20 to 30 seconds. You can pause this video to see if you can come up with the correct solution. Ready or not? Let's go ahead and continue so we can solve this challenge and get to the correct solution together. As we all learned in school, the correct order of operations in math is parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. You can even use the acronym PEMDAS, which reflects first letter from all of these operations. Based on this information, the first step in the calculation would be subtracting 1 from 3, because these are the values in parentheses, and the result of this calculation is 2. The question is, what are we going to do next? We have a choices of dividing 16 by 4 or multiplying 4 by 2, and the correct answer here is that we need to divide 16 by 4 as a second step. What PEMDAS doesn't mention is that multiplication and division have equal priority and calculated from left to right. And this is exactly the case for our expression. 16 divided by 4 is on the left side of the expression, and 4 multiplied by 2 is on the right side. So the first thing we need to do is divide 16 by 4. The result of this calculation is 4. And in the last step, we need to multiply 4 by 2. And the result is 8. So the correct choice here is choice A, 8. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. A lot of times, you might be presented with the pie chart questions on the test. This is an example of this type of question. You need to calculate petroleum consumption. The ratio between natural gas, petroleum, coal, nuclear power, and renewables consumption is 8 to 6 to 4 to 3 to 3. The total consumption of energy is $3 billion. So, how much in US dollars was consumed in form of petroleum? You're presented with 4 different choices. Choice A, 510 million. Choice B, 610 million. Choice C, 750 million. And choice D, $600 million. Do you see the answer? Do you know how to calculate these types of problems? Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds, maybe 20 to 30 seconds to see if you can come up with the solution. Ready or not, I am going to go ahead and reveal the solution and the way to solve these types of problems on the test. The best way to solve these types of challenges is to understand the relationship between the consumption ratio and total value of energy consumed in US dollars. If we add up of all the units in the ratio, we will get to the sum of 24, because 8 plus 6 plus 4 plus 3 and plus 3 equals 24. Our total consumption expense is $3 billion. But answers are presented in million dollars, so we need to convert $3 billion into million dollars, which would be an equivalent of $3,000 million. Petroleum represents 6 units out of 24, so the total consumption of petroleum can be calculated as 6 divided by 24 multiplied by 3,000, and we will get our answer as 0.25 multiplied by 3,000, which will equal $750 million. So the correct choice here is choice C, $750 million. Did you come up with the same answer? If you know the better way to solve this challenge, please make sure to post it in the comment section of this video. Here's an excellent problem that you frequently see on the test. Anna is 4 years older than her brother. 2 years ago, her brother's age was 3/4 of Anna's age. How old her brother will be in 5 years? And you're presented with 4 different choices. Age 23, choice B 21, choice C 19, and choice D 18. Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds. You can either get yourself a piece of paper or do mental calculations. The problem is simple enough so you can get to the correct answer. Do you see the solution? Let's continue to see how we can get to the correct solution together. The coolest thing about this problem is that it seems simple, but in reality, it deals with 3 moments in time. It deals with today moment, it deals with the moment of 2 years ago, and it deals in the brother's age in 5 years moment. As soon as we know either Anna's or her brother's age at any moment of time, we should be able to calculate brother's age in 5 years. So let's go ahead and do the calculations. In this problem, we're dealing with one fact. Anna is 4 years older than her brother, and this fact never changes. So we can build formula Anna's age equals her brother's age plus 4. We are also dealing with age-specific difference at the moment of time. For example, we've learned that Anna's brother's age was 3/4 of Anna's age 2 years ago. So let's do calculations for 2 years ago. Brother's age equals 3/4 of Anna's age. Now let's use factual information about brother's age. Brother's age equals Anna's age minus 4. And now we can create an equation based on Anna's age in the moment of time 2 years ago. Anna's age minus 4, based on the fact, equals 3/4 of Anna's age, which means that Anna's age minus 3/4 of Anna's age equals 4, 1/4 of Anna's age equals 4, and Anna's age equals 16. So 2 years ago, Anna was 16 years old, and her brother was 3/4 of 16, 12 years old. Now Anna's brother is 2 years older, which can be calculated as 12 plus 2 and equals 14 years old, which means that in 5 years, Anna's brother will be 14 plus 5, 19 years old. So the correct answer here is choice C, 19 years old. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here's the cool question which is frequently used on the test. You're presented with 3 expressions. Circle with the dot inside plus another circle equals 48. In the second expression, you add square plus circle and the result equaled 40. And in the third expression, you divide square by the diamond and the result is equal to. So you need to calculate the diamond. You're presented with 4 different choices. Choice A, 6. Choice B, 12. Choice C, 18. And choice D, 24. Can you do the math? Give yourself 10 to 15 seconds. Maybe 20 to 30 seconds, depending how quickly you are with the math. Ready or not, I'm moving forward and going to reveal you how to do the calculation and solve this particular problem. If you think about it, the symbols that are presented for this problem are no different to x, y, and z that we're so used to in math. So let's look at the first expression from that standpoint. You see that the value of circle can easily be calculated. We do it by dividing 48 by 3, and the result is equal 16. So circle with the dot inside equals 16. In the next step, we need to calculate the square. Square equals 40 minus the circle, which equals 40 minus 16, and the result equals 24. And in the last step, we need to calculate the diamond. Diamond equals square divided by 2, which equals 24 divided by 2, and the result equals 12. So the correct answer is choice B, 12. Hopefully you've nailed this question on your own and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Here's one of the frequently used questions to test your understanding of the percentages. Candidate is taking a test, so imagine yourself, with 60 multiple choice questions and answered 60% of the first 20 questions correctly so far. So What percent of the remaining questions does candidate need to answer correctly to get 70% rate on the test? You're presented with 4 different choices. Choice A, 60%, Choice B, 65%, Choice C, 70%, and Choice D, 75%. Do you see the answer? Take a close look and possibly get yourself a piece of paper or use Microsoft Excel to do the calculations. Or maybe you can do all the calculations in your head. That would be amazing. Give yourself 15 to 20 seconds. This particular question might require a lot of steps, so give yourself some time and try to solve it. Ready or not, I am going to move forward and reveal the correct answer as well as the solution. As I already mentioned, this is a multi-tiered question, and it requires you to do multiple calculations to get to the correct answer. So the first calculation we would need to do is how many questions have already been answered correctly by the candidate. And the answer is calculated by multiplying 20 questions by 60%. So the answer is 12 questions have already been answered correctly so far by the candidate. In the next phase, we need to determine how many remaining questions need to be answered correctly to pass the test at 70% rate. So if there are 60 questions total on the test and we need to pass it at 70% rate, we will get to 42 questions that need to be answered correctly to get a passing rate of 70%. In the next phase, we need to calculate how many remaining questions remain on the test. To do this, we need to subtract 20 from 60, and it tells us that 40 questions are still remaining. Now, how many questions need to be answered correctly out of remaining questions to still get to 70% passing rate? To calculate this, we need to subtract 12, which is the number of questions we already answered correctly out of first 20 questions answered, from 42, and 42 minus 12 equals 30, which means that out of remaining 40 questions, 30 questions need to be answered correctly to get to the 70% passing rate. So the last calculation we need to do is to calculate what is the percentage of remaining questions we need to answer correctly. To do this, we need to divide 30 by 40 and multiply it by 100%, which is an equivalent of 0.75 multiplied by 100%. And the correct answer is choice D, 75%. Do you know the better way to solve this challenge? Please share your thoughts in the comment section of this video. And I hope that you nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. A lot of times you might get a question which asks you to determine the sales increase. You're typically presented with the graph, which shows lines that represent different sales. In our case, we are represented with the chart that shows sales of cardio equipment from January to June, sales of bikes represented by the blue line, sales of elliptical represented by the orange line, and sales of treadmills are represented by the gray line. The question asks you to determine largest sales increase. Specifically, you need to determine which period represents the largest 1 month's number of item sales increase for cardio equipment sales. You have 4 different choices. Choice A, bikes from January to February. Choice B, bikes from February to March. Choice C, ellipticals, March to April. And choice D, treadmill, May to June. Do you see the answer? You may need to look closely to determine the correct answer for this question. Give yourself 5 to 10 seconds to see if you can come up with the right solution. Are you ready? We're going to move forward and cover the answer for this problem and get to the solution together. To answer this question, we need to look at the graph closely. For each data point on the graph, we need to determine the actual value. And once we have all the numbers, we need to answer the question by looking at the differences for equipment sales from months to months. Specifically, in this case, you need to evaluate 4 different choices that are represented by answers A through D. Let's do it together. Based on the chart, bike sales increased by 2 from January to February, and the increase was from 5 to 7 items sold. Bike sales also increased by 2 from 7 to 9 between February and March. Elliptical sales, on the other hand, increased by 7 from March to April, jumping from 2 to 9. And treadmill sales increased by 4 between May and June, going up from 2 to 6. So the correct answer here is choice C, elliptical sales from March to April, because jump was by 7 from 2 to 9. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. A lot of times you get tested on your ability to analyze charts and graphs. In this question, we see a pie chart, which is broken down into 2 parts. You see parts presented in the different colors: white, red, blue, gray, and black. And the question asks you how many cars. Let's read the question more carefully. The pie chart shows the colors of the cars past traffic light in 1 hour period. A total of 250 cars passed the traffic light. The number of white cars is represented by an angle of 90 degrees. Approximately how many white cars passed the traffic light? You're presented with 4 different choices. Choice A, 57, choice B, 60, choice C, 63, and choice D, 67. Take a close look to see if you can come up with the answer. Do you see the answer? Let's continue to see how we can get to the correct solution and solve this challenge together. A lot of times, answer given to you as part of the question. And this is one of those cases. Pie chart is represented by a 360-degree circle. We know that 90-degree angle represents number of white cars past the traffic light, and 90 degrees is a quarter of 360. To do the calculations, you need to divide 90 by 360, which is a quarter or 0.25. We need to build the proportion to calculate the final value. If total number of cars past the traffic light is 250 and it's represented by a 360-degree circle, to calculate the number of white cars passed, we need to multiply 250 by 0.25. So the end result is 62.5. The closest value among the answers is 63. So the correct choice here is choice C, 63. Hopefully you've nailed this question and now know how to answer similar problems on the test. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, please give us a like and consider subscribing. Thank you for your endorsement, support, and patronage. Please also check out additional resources in the description section of this video. I also encourage you to check resources page on our website, howtoanalyzedata.net. Please leave your feedback, corrections, or suggestions in the comment section of this video. And all the best on your journey. I'll see you in my next video.